The DOV group is responsible for the maintenance of the cupboard, which of course is incredibly important. Yet it's also important to recognise that not only do they just do that, but just by having them there makes them contribute to something that will shape the future. Every single action comes from their perspective, and talking about what people bring to the group as a unique person. When someone's a young person, they see things from a completely different angle, even if they are doing the same task as anybody else would do in that situation. My plan was to be forthright and make this visible. And that's why I did the colour diaries with them. I called it a documentary, but what I mean by documentary is actually not what most people think a documentary is, which is something happens, an event, whatever you want to classify an event is. And of course, they take pictures to evidence it, to document it. And this is important, but at the same time, what I consider documentary is actually more about the imagination and how, with the colour diaries, it's not what the pictures are showing, but it's actually a representation of what that person as an individual is seeing within the environment and fostering their connection to it. And that's what's really, really interesting, because you're essentially seeing their vision and that they are willing to share that vision with you. And that's what I consider documentary. It's actually almost the opposite of documentation. And that if you look at the handbook, you'll see all the DOV photos that singularly and collectively combined are the vision of what they've experienced here at the community cupboard. And you'll see that by looking at these things in that way, that you are knowing more about that person taking the photograph than what is actually photographed. This gives us an insight into the events that could potentially take place in the future later on. So thanks for getting involved with that. Sometimes it's best not to explain things right at the beginning, because I think it confuses people, especially with anything to do with art. But I think just go out there instead and not have any experience just to take a photograph, but, just feel the sensations around you in the environment, how that moves through us, and that being captured gives us an opportunity to see things and notice things that are there, because we are so busy and distracted most of the time, we don't pay attention to what's around us really. And this is really important in creating a vision for development and what happens next, to take that research on board and into consideration in the here and now. So this is what I mean by documentation in a way that is allowing for new things to emerge and take place organically through how we see things. So this kind of leads on to visibility, which is strongly linked to the equality, diversity, and inclusion policy noted in the handbook.